You're listening to Real Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out realradio.com. Welcome to Real Radio. This is the Real Estate Rundown with Owen Dashner. Sound effects just get better and better every week.
I know. I'm just experimenting, man, for the listening pleasure out there.
Okay, so as you listen to us about 2 weeks ago, we had Jason Dries in town here. We're definitely going to cut that up and do a future episode on that.
Who is Jason Dries? Lay it out for us, Ted.
If you guys didn't catch the episode, we had him on a couple months ago. I don't know what episode number it was, but he got his fame for being Brandon Turner's business coach. At one point, he contributed his success specifically to Jason and his growth, which blew him up to a point where at one point he had $3 million a year coming in and coaching, is what he told us during an event.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he then parlayed that into basically 80% of his whole coaching clientele was real estate investors. So he knows that space and he knows the crazy crap going on in our heads as real estate investors. Man, such an awesome story that guy has. It's like a redemption song. You know what I mean? Like he's gone through so much, starting out in the Tony Robbins coaching program when it comes to coaching, and then parlaying that into basically going out on his own, going through some major struggles initially, and then now really caught a tailwind with forming a relationship with Brandon Turner, and just like is a baller in the personal development, business coaching, personal coaching space. Like, man, such a good event. That was so good. That was the best one he put on.
So we interviewed him in November or December, which I started by following him on Facebook and Instagram, just so you guys know, like way beforehand. And then I think it was a couple years ago, went with a whole bunch of buddies, including Colin Schwartz, and we went to Tool, posted that, and he made a comment that he was at that show. And I remember I screenshot, I'm like, dude, Jason Dries just commented on this.
Yeah, you were fanboying him a little bit.
And then that led to some open conversations. And I was like, hey, man, what would it take you on a podcast? We got my podcast somewhere like November, December in 2024. And in that interview, which whenever somebody comes on, I'm just like, hey, this would be amazing to have you in town. I'm like, hey, just want to try my luck. What would it take to get you in Omaha? He's like, join my coaching program. I got a special deal going on now. So I joined that January 1st. And then he's like, take care of my plane ticket. And like to get Jason in for that, low of
for
entry,
nothing
is pretty amazing. So we booked it out months ahead of time. And then that Tuesday, just so you guys know, it was like 60 plus degrees the week before. It was 60 degrees that morning. The following week after the event, it is 70 degrees. So the day he comes in, the storm, he flies in and it's like blizzard warning.
He comes in at noon, and then that night it turned into 5 inches of snow, horrible, like 70 mile an hour winds in Omaha. It was a train wreck on the roads.
Well, I
thought I was going to die.
I was a train wreck trying to figure out if I'm going to still do this.
You were, and you were panicking, and as anybody would have, but you ended up holding it anyway, being the stubborn guy that you are.
If you cancel somebody like this,
I know you may not get him back.
You're never going to get him back.
Yeah,
and so
but you held the event, 140 attendees,
which is like our top 5 attended events.
Amazing considering the conditions. And I mean, it would have been easily 200 plus.
224s we had RSVP'd.
Yeah, so that was incredible. Kudos to you for putting that on. That was a ton of work. And thank you, Jason Dries, for coming in. That was super cool to see in person. So cool. Yeah, great event.
Cool thing is Jason calls me yesterday morning, which was like the day afterwards. And he goes, hey, dude, I just want you to know. And I'm like, I want to pat myself on the back because this made me feel special. He goes, of all the traveling and all the events I've ever done, he goes, you were the best host I've ever had.
Good for you. And I don't doubt that for a second.
Which is cool because like, when I always try to do lunch and make an experience when people come in. And thanks to you and the guys, we had Chris Pomelu, Colin Schwartz, you, myself, and
Travis Holty,
all in town. And thanks, Travis, for buying lunch. And and so we got together, and it was just like great group of people come together to talk,
just chill out and talk,
yeah, and not make anybody feel awkward or fanboying. And then we have the event. But I'm gonna tell you guys, the night before, I was so nervous. I hand texted over 400 people. I'm like,
hand texted,
yeah. My eyes,
hands,
my finger. Yeah, I didn't mass text it. My eyes were like watering towards the end. I couldn't read the words anymore, and they're red and bloodshot, and just tears are going down my eyes. Is because I'm like, please come, don't make the room empty. And so it turned out, and we had a great event. A lot of people had to sleep in the hotel. There's people came in from Lincoln, interstate was closed. People came in from middle of Iowa, they still made it home. I can't believe it.
Well, I live in Iowa, and
Clint Blackburn made it.
I know he did. He was. I saw him yesterday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no problems, whatever." But he's an anomaly. Okay, we'll just throw him out of this average equation. But I will tell you, I personally saw on the way home on the interstate, I saw a car in the lane on the right that was just ahead of me, like a car length ahead, spin around in a 360, and then ended up stopping completely. So I left them behind. It was like Frogger. And then I saw somebody in front of me in my lane hit the interstate like guardrail and bounce off and then come way out into the lane. So I had to like do an emergency deal, and I was like sliding sideways. I was so freaking stressed, man.
You yelling my name?
I was not super happy with everything at that point. And now here's the other thing that happened. I didn't know this until later. I'm sending Jen, my wife, I'm sending her text like, hey, getting ready to leave. I'm just giving her a heads up because she knew it was going to be really crappy weather, and she was kind of giving me the eye roll, like, "Oh, I have to go." To
I heard that so many times.
I have to support Ted and all this, and then I'm like getting home. This is funny. It took me an hour to get home, which is normally a probably 30 minute trip. So I get home, right? I roll in the door, and she's still up and all this, and I'm like, hey, made it, looking for some kudos. And then her phone starts going off, like it has like 3 or 4 texts, and I'm like, oh, like what, is everything okay or whatever? I didn't know what was going on, and she's like, oh, I just got your text. So I texted her before I left, and she didn't get it till 40 minutes or an hour later.
Wow,
I don't know, So I was like, yeah, leaving now, heads up, like it's obviously bad out, this and that. And then she just got all of them right when I walked in the door. She's like, well, thanks for letting me know. You know what I mean? It was just funny, like funny, haha now because I arrived home safe. It was sketch as hell, man. That was not fun.
By the end of the night, they're like, we pull all the plows off the road, and the plows weren't out for safety reasons.
Yeah, that was crazy. That sucked driving that. But kudos to you. You got 140 attendees, ended up great. Jason Dries, unfortunately for him, had to spend an extra day in Omaha because his flights got canceled. But now we got to see it,
So a couple things happened too. So when that happened, Jason's like, you know what? I'm going to do a free webinar for everybody that was there.
That was nice.
As a thank you for everybody that came out. So I was like, thanks, man. And then in that conversation too, I upgraded my coaching I had with Joe, which is part of his program.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting next week, I start coaching directly with Jason, and we're going to do a 6-month program with him.
So you're going to see a whole new Teddy ball game.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome?
Coming up in a couple of weeks.
I got to change my mindset, man. I got to get race all this stuff and restart and go big in 2025.
Here we go. New Ted on the books.
Especially after interviewing Jeff Hansen.
Yeah, he was so fun.
Because I've seen Jeff go from military to real estate investor, thinking he was just a general contractor doing a few flips. And I cannot believe, I got 24 units, and I got 18 unit, and I got another 20 unit, and I bought a commercial building that's got banquet facilities, and it's got multiple levels downtown. I'm like, dude,
he's making some big moves. So this is the upcoming episode on Wednesday that you're going to hear with Jeffrey Hansen.
Killed it.
He great story. Army, right out of high school. He had a father that was a Vietnam vet. He followed in his footsteps a little bit and entered the Army at 19. Saw some horrific stuff, like right off the bat when he was in basically training before getting deployed. You'll hear that in the story. If any of you remember 2009, Fort Hood, you'll know what I'm talking about. There was a major that went really off the rails and shot a whole bunch of people, and terrible story. But Jeff was there. So tune into that episode to hear about all the goings on with that and his growth into acquiring small single families to start out. He did it creatively. He's bought stuff subject to. He's used seller financing. He's partnered with family members to get private money. He's done a whole bunch of moves, and he has, partnerships that he's done really creatively, and he's carved out equity. There's so many things you can pick apart out of this that anybody listening.
We go everywhere.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not like something where if you're tuning in, you're like, oh, I'm a new real estate investor, I can't do this.
You can.
This guy did so much in 1 year that you're going to be mind blown.
And he didn't come from money. And
no,
he just
humble
had
family beginnings.
basic,
and
pay.
Mom was a house cleaner, dad was a construction guy, and he's figured out a lot of stuff to do after that within real estate. So super cool.
And when we talk about family loan, like we're talking like he bought a property that was like $27,000,
$28,000.
It wasn't like he is buying something for $1 million and took out. This is like low level that he made big moves on. So
yep. I do want to call out something, though, and I wanted to incorporate this into today's Golden Nugget.
And this Golden Nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
So Jeff Hansen on Wednesday's episode mentioned something that I have held true to, like my personal standards here over the last 20 years of real estate investing, and that is rent your places. So if you have rental properties, rent them slightly under market rents. And this is maybe a hot take or an unpopular opinion on this, but what I found is generally, if you have multifamily units, even single family to a degree, if you slightly underprice your units compared to market, you're going to have way less turnover. And because what happens is, so picture this. So a lot of us forget it, right? So we started out, teenagers, and then we went to college, maybe or maybe not. We got an apartment. We had roommates and all that, right? And you kind of forget those things after a while. But the reality is you have a monthly nut that you have to pay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that has to come from somewhere. And if you have a W-2, or maybe you're just like, slanging drinks as a bartender, or hustling and working construction, or whatever your method of paying the bills is, after a while, you get to a point where it's, like you have monthly expenses and you need to overcome them. What I like how Jeff approached his rental property portfolio. Geez, I feel like Porky Pig. What property portfolio that Jeff did, he was basically under renting them slightly compared to market. What I have seen over the last 20 years of doing this is you get about 50% turnover if you look at your entire portfolio. So people move out in general about every other year, right? So every unit you have is going to be vacant from 1 year to the next, okay? So you got to plan for that, because you're going to have move out costs. You're going to have make readies. You're going to have maybe you have trashed units. Maybe you have a down unit because you're remodeling for a month or two, and you have to bring it back online. So renting it slightly under market ensures that you are probably going to have a tenant that's going to shop you at some point and say, I can't get anything cheaper than this with similar amenities. So you can max out the market with rent. So if you're like, I know I can get $2,000 for this unit, and that's what the market's paying, I'm going to put it out for that. Great. You do that, they may shop you every single year. You know what I mean? So like their leases come and due, let's say it's, March 1st. They're going to start shopping you and see, okay, can I get a better rate or similar and with better amenities and all that stuff? But if you're $100 below market, maybe they stay an extra year. Guess what? That $100 may add up. Let's say it's $1,200 at the end of the year. But if they're not moving out, then you're not going to have to pay for move out expenses, vacancy, make ready, all that stuff.
Or if you have a property manager, they're going to take half of the first rent or the whole first rent.
Yeah. So there's all those things. So keep that in mind when you're going out and trying to, figure out what you can make on your portfolio. It may make sense for you to be slightly under market just to keep longer tenancy and get an extra year of lease out of that.
I would love to see if there's a study on that.
I would too, actually, because this is more of a feeling and like a gut feeling. Yeah. But that was today's Golden Nugget.
I mean, man, somebody like yourself that has lots of units, that'd be an interesting study if you could pull that off.
I know. I wish there was somebody more organized than me that could pull all this together. But yeah, that's where we are.
Maybe that your next assistant can do that for you.
There we go. Yeah. All right. So Jeff in his episode talked about sweat equity. And he didn't specifically call it that, but he talked about a number of deals where he was the guy that did the construction work, the arms and legs of basically what make a real estate deal a good one.
Also
right?
got him leads.
Yeah, got him leads, and he was able to basically use that as a shoehorn into much, much larger deals and much quicker than most people would do, right?
Mhm.
I do want to call that out because I think, sweat equity is something where you're like, it's time, money, and knowledge. Those are your general three buckets, right? And it's hard to have all three. Like, I don't know anybody that really has all three. So if you have a lot of time and a lot of money, you can probably get the knowledge. And if you have a lot of knowledge but not much money, you may have the time. And like you can fill in the gaps, right? So it's finding the third person.
There's your book title right there.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard anybody put those three buckets out there for real estate investing.
Yeah, but
it makes sense.
I just think about it that way, where it's like, you generally at some point in your life have been a combination of those, right? So maybe in my early 20s, I didn't have any money. Maybe I didn't know anything, but I had a bunch of time. Then I could use that time to absorb a crap ton of podcasts and books and like learn all the stuff, right? And then I could couple that with time and knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you can make moves and you can find a person that has the money. And then if maybe you have a lot of money, but you're so busy and that's why you have a lot of money, you don't have the knowledge or the time, you can find somebody that has those two things and they can go out and find a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that's an approach that Jeff took. So he had construction knowledge. He had some time. He was able to go out and...
But he didn't have the construction knowledge when he first got it. Remember? He said that...
when he first got into it, but I'm talking about the partnership.
Yeah, at the time, he was just time.
Yeah. So you can do a lot if one of those three buckets is not full.
Yeah.
Right? So you can make the most out of any of those three, depending on where you're at in life.
Yeah, I agree. Because his went from time to knowledge to money.
Yeah. And but I just think that he really and we talk about it in the episode where he talks about his contribution to the whole partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is, knowledge, and he has the time to put into it. Now, he also kicked in money into the deal, so I'm not discounting that. But, several of the other members of his partnership group had opposite or, different components they brought to the table. So
it makes sense, too, because as these buckets are getting filled, like you just mentioned, his bucket with time is now going empty.
Yeah.
Or it's over full, I should say.
Right.
And so now he's like, okay, now I can't fill that bucket up anymore because my time's all taken. And I have all the knowledge I need. And now my money bucket's filling. And now I need to take care of this time bucket. Because he's like, I got 40 units coming online.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time I had once before.
Yep.
So that's a great way to put it. I've never heard that laid out like that.
Well, let me ask you this. So this might be a fun thought experiment. We'll see how this goes. But okay, let's say today, 2025, I say, Ted, I am stripping you of all of your, all of everything you have with regard to real estate investing, except you get to keep your knowledge and your current setting in life. How would you start out right now if you had nothing available to you? Like, it's essentially, your superpower got taken away, and then all of a sudden you had to start with just your own mind and your body and your capabilities and your network. How would you approach starting over?
So I have my network though.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I was restarting today and I didn't have the money, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leverage hard money to find deals, or I'm going to look for subject to situations.
Okay. So you know how to get deals
Mm-hmm.
is your point.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're going to go out and look for them, you're going to look for something where you can take over financing that
Mm-hmm.
somebody already has in place and get control of the property and then do whatever you're going to do with it.
If time wasn't an issue, I'm going to be door knocking. I'm going to be making phone calls. I'm probably not going to have my real estate license, so I'm probably going to look for wholesalers.
Okay.
Where I don't get in trouble. And I'm going to find the deal because I've always been told over and over again on the podcast and from influential people is if you find the deal, you'll find the money.
Money comes. Yeah.
Yes. Because if I get a deal that makes sense, I'm going to be able to reach out to Owen or anybody else I know. And they're like, yeah, I'll invest in it. You found the deal. But you remember you said in the podcast, if you find the deal, you can just sit back and take the dividends.
Yes. So, okay, like if I was pretending you were asking me that same question, I would say, here's something that I don't think I have heard anyone say ever on a podcast or in person with anyone.
You're gonna hear it first.
Let's say you and I know each other like we do, right?
Mhm.
Like we know each other really well. I know what you're up to. You know where I'm up to. Like we know struggles. Like we're rejoicing about the wins and like,
Like we do.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say, like, if you strip me of all my financial capabilities right now and you said, Owen, you got to start over right now. I think what I might consider is if I had a relationship or relationships with people that believed in me and they knew what I was capable of, and they said, I have money, I would be interested in participating, whatever you're involved in, because I know you're going to make it rain, then I might consider working out a deal with them where they would pay for marketing. So, like, you don't hear this often.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly people are like, oh, yeah, I found somebody for the deal that I got. I found some people that would loan me money, a private lender, hard money. They were a JV partner, etc. So what if somebody said to you, Ted, I will give you, Ted, $100,000 or 60 grand or 50 or whatever the number is. And I'm giving this to you with the understanding that you're going to deploy that into marketing to source deals that are off market. What could you turn that into? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess if it was me, the conversation, I don't know if the real estate deal would be the first thing I'd go after. I think that I could take that money, do a event and get a quicker turn for the cash.
Okay.
And then pay back my partner and then take the profits that are part of our new partnership and then probably deploy that into a property where we have as a down payment, having a 50-50 and then maybe do another event.
See, this is what's so fascinating about this whole conversation is like what you know and what your operating system is as Ted Kosh and what I know as myself. I would do something completely different with that to turn it into something way bigger. And you have a different mindset on that. That's what's so infinitely interesting about this conversation.
But I'm thinking faster versus, yes, I know I could go find a condemned property, based on my track record. It's going to take me 6 months to do that renovation. And then, interest rates suck. So the BRRRR method isn't going to be good. And, it's more risk and more time where I know I can turn it faster doing this and I can build something up. And I still want to get real estate, but I want to use what I know I'm really good at to be able to use to build the real estate portfolio.
See, and I could take that, let's say it's $100,000. I could funnel that right into putting up a website really fast and making sure it's SEO and like all the stuff. And it's going to attract motivated sellers. And I could probably 8x that money. Like if I had $100,000 and you gave it to me and you said, put this all into marketing, I would start a pay-per-click account and I would start up direct mail. And that's what I would do. And I would work those leads and I would flip those houses or BRRRR them or, wholesale them or whatever. And I could probably turn that into 750, 800,000.
So but
that's me.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different path than you would go because that's what I know.
Exactly.
And that's this makes this such an interesting thought experiment.
And I feel like I know that enough to be able to do that if I was forced to, just because of all the people I've known, the podcasts we've done. And I feel like I could do that just fine, but it is not something I'm confident in enough where I could guarantee that return.
Do you think you could just be like, hey man, hey, Owen, hey, somebody that knows how to do this. What if I funded years worth of marketing for you? Would you cut me in on 30% or 40% or 50 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Like, what about that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's what's so fascinating about this is like my hat that I'm wearing and my knowledge that I walk around with is so different than yours.
But this kind of takes me back to a conversation that we had once before, because when I was telling you and Colin, I'm like, hey guys, I really want to do this 3-day event. This is my big goal. Both of you guys said, hey, we'll put a dollar amount into that. And because that there'd be return to you because you felt confident that I could be able to pull that off.
True. Yeah. I mean, that's true.
So,
I don't remember that part of this conversation, but whatever.
You don't?
I don't remember the. No, this is your really good sales skills, infiltrating my lack of memory long term. So good job on you for remembering this, but but that's a thing. So this is.
It made me feel good when you guys said that. So
I love going down this path though. Yeah. The thought experiment route of if you had X, what would you do with it, and what could Y look like at the end? And so there's so many different options, and depending on your experience and your knowledge and your contacts, it could be wildly different. It's so fun. I mean, like this is what's so fun about it.
Based on some of the people we've talked to, if we had $100,000 and we pumped it in this podcast, we probably get the return on it based on what you can do with the videos, the shorts, and the marketing.
Well, I don't know. I think we need a lot more 5-star reviews, people.
5-star reviews. We need those, yeah. And share it with your friends and family. So that'll help us a lot. Hey, great conversations. I don't want to go too long today, but I think we did some good, deep conversations today. And I liked how we kept on, taking everything back to either the event that we had with Jason Dries or talking to Jeff, and all the stuff that we learned out of that today. So appreciate it. And if you listen to this the first time or the 194th time, as we mentioned before, reviews mean the world to us. Please share us with somebody that will get something out of this, another real estate investor, somebody that is a business owner and is just trying to get a different mindset of where they want to be with their business. That's what we're all about here, discovering the person behind the person. So appreciate you guys, appreciate your support. And with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Aiden Bear, Ria Radio, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner, and you're listening to the Real Estate Rundown.
This episode is also brought to you by PropStream and Magic Door.
Okay, I want to bring us... Sorry.
Too many drinks.
2.5 old fashions in. This is what you get, Jory. Sorry. Okay. Aiden like that.